according to Isaiah 9:10, the key of a nation's judgment. And so now in America, here's what happened in ancient Israel. This harbinger now is the vow itself, and that is the actual proclaiming or speaking of the vow of defiance, Isaiah 9:10. So here's the thing. Who would have said it? The leaders had to have said it, because it wouldn't be significant if they did, if it wasn't the leaders. It represents the nation, represents we are not going to turn back to you, God. We're going to rebuild. We're going to come back stronger than ever, Isaiah 9:10. So what has to happen for this harbinger to manifest now in America is that a leader, a national leader, has to say the vow, has to actually utter the ancient vow, has to happen in the capital city. That's where they would have said it in ancient Israel, in the capital city, and has to be done publicly. So could this have happened? The problem is, what national leader is going to want to pronounce judgment on America?
Of course.
And no one would intentionally. So here's what happened, amazing. On the 3rd anniversary of 9/11, this is September 11th, 2004, in the capital city, Washington, at a public setting, the vice presidential candidate for the office, the Democratic ticket, he rises up.
This is John Edwards.
This is John Edwards. Okay. He rises up and he begins a speech. He's supposed to be talking about 9/11 and he thinks it's going to be inspiring. And this is what he says. Today, on this day of remembrance and mourning, we have the Lord's word to get us through. Then he says it. The bricks have fallen, but we will rebuild with dressed stones. The sycamores have been cut down, but we will put cedars in their place. He actually gives the vow of judgment on a nation. He doesn't know what he's doing, but he's actually pronouncing judgment.
So it's like a replay of what happened in ancient Israel is happening in the United States.
It's exactly. And out of 30,000 scriptures, to choose from for inspiring, you don't choose this one. And in fact, people don't even know this one. He says it. This is the vow that pronounces judgment, and it's identifying America as the nation under judgment, turning away from God. And he doesn't only do that. He builds his whole speech around this. He goes on to say, we are putting cedars up. We are speaking favorably. We are putting up the stones, and those cedars shall rise with those. He goes on and on. The whole speech is Isaiah 9:10, and he has no idea. He's speaking figuratively. He has no idea. Actually, there was a tree, that the sycamore. There actually was this replay. All these things happened. He has no idea.
He's being a prophet and doesn't realize it. But it's a prophet of judgment. And what I find interesting is, shortly thereafter, he fell into disgrace. Now, there was a second vow.
Yes. Now, the other harbinger, this is the vow, is also a prophecy. It's spoken before these things happen. It says, we will do this. So Israel said it before it would happen. Also becomes a matter of national record through Isaiah. It becomes part of Isaiah. So, for this to happen, same thing. It's got to be a leader, capital city, but spoken before these things happen. In other words, right soon after the event, and it becomes a matter of national record. It speaks prophetically. So, could this have happened? Amazing. On the day after 9/11, the very day, that morning, America has to give its response to the world. So this is really significant prophetically. This is the response of America to this judgment or this calamity. So what happens? The man appointed to do this is the Senate Majority Leader, the head of the Senate. Senate represents the nation, and he is Tom Daschle. And he is to come up and he's the man appointed. He gives the thing, and he gives a speech, and here's what happens. Bizarre, ominous, eerie, and profound. At the end of the speech, he closes with this pinnacle. He says, I know there's only the smallest measure of inspiration that can be taken from this devastation, but I think there is a passage in the Bible from Isaiah that I think speaks to all of us at times.
Of all the scriptures, he picks that one.
Amazing. And then he says it from the Capitol Hill, from the floor of the Senate, national record. The bricks have fallen down, but we will rebuild with dressed stones. Fig trees have been felled, but we will replace them with cedars. And then he goes on. So he's actually, the very day after, pronouncing judgment, linking it all together to ancient Israel. And then he goes on to say, it's not just Israel, it's our vow now. He says, that is what we, America, will do. In other words, this is going to be American policy. We will rebuild. We will recover. He is speaking prophetically. He has no idea that there actually is a tree that day that was just found. He has no idea that years later, all these things he says are actually going to happen at ground zero. He is predicting that America, he's prophesying that America is going to go the course of defiance as ancient Israel. He's setting a course without realizing.
So John Edwards does this.
Yes.
He shortly falls, almost a prophetic sign. Tom Daschle then fell into disgrace when he was asked to be part of the cabinet, if you remember.
Yes.